how many carbohydrates should I be eating on keto?
So, simple rule for people that are doing nutritional ketosis, so you're not doing this for therapeutic reasons, is anywhere between 20 and 50 grams a day.
So how do we pick that? How do we pick that number?
Because that's been scientifically proven to get people's bodies to switch over into ketosis, right? So there are certain hormones in the body that play a big part in if we're producing ketones or not. So one of them is insulin, and the other one is hormone-sensitive lipase, or also known as HSL, right? So they're kind of counteract each other. Not counteract, I can't think of the right word, but when insulin is high and is present, hormone-sensitive lipase is low, right? And so in order to build a lot of ketones, you need more hormone-sensitive lipase. And in order for that to be higher, you need to lower your insulin levels. So 20 to 50 grams has been shown to reduce your insulin levels enough so that some of these other hormones and these other enzymes can come into play and make ketone bodies. It just so happens that when you lower your carbohydrate intake and lower your insulin levels, you balance out your blood glucose numbers, right? That's a secondary effect of eating less carbohydrates, really.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and then you can actually go lower than 20 grams for therapeutic reasons. A lot of, like if you are dealing with epilepsy or something like that, it's usually around 10 grams. But then generally you're under a care of a nutritionist and everything's done for you. So how do you personally choose where to be at for carbohydrates? That's really individual. What works for Jeremy doesn't work for me. So you have to experiment. So like just a general rule would be to start with 20 grams and get yourself into ketosis with 20 grams and then test. So invest in some blood testing or some breath testing. We don't recommend urine strips just because they stop working after some time because your body, urine is measuring what's excreted out of your urine. And after a while, your body gets more efficient at using the ketones. So a lot of people, I've heard stories of people quitting keto because they thought that they weren't in ketosis anymore because the urine strips stopped changing color.
Right, so urine strips are really effective within the first month. And then after that, your body actually gets good at producing ketones that aren't excreted solely through your urine, sweat, and breath. So that at that point, you need to invest in something like a blood ketone meter or a breath ketone meter that can take deep lung samples.
Yeah. So, kind of digress there, but I wanted to make sure we mentioned that. But so you just want to pick a goal, and then the only way to test it is to have some kind of a ketone meter to be able to tell how changing up your carbohydrates is affecting your level of ketosis.
And if you're not willing to invest in a ketone meter, you're just going to have to
guess.
You're just going to have to guess and use how you feel and your maybe what's showing up in the scale or what's showing up in a measurement, like a waist measurement, stuff like that as your guide.
So I want to touch on the quality of carbohydrates because we see coaching clients with our group coaching that the quality of carbohydrates that people are eating impact their results. So what not to do is to load up on packaged foods and get all your carbohydrates from packaged foods. So what am I talking about with packaged foods?
It might be like keto cookies or even something like if you're solely consuming keto chow. You know, we love keto chow and it has a great place in a keto diet. But this, just eating carbohydrates from one source, especially some processed sources like all of the keto products that are out there now, you're really doing yourself a disservice because if I'm going to spend my carb count every day, I'm going to be trying to get it from whole food sources like high quality vegetables.
Yeah, and so there is a video we did and we talked about the best vegetables for the keto diet, and we'll link that here in the comments and in the description for you to be able to take a look at that. But make sure that you're including keto-friendly vegetables in your diet every day. So that gets you some essential fibers, because what happens very often is when people eat keto, their fiber intake goes way down. And then you end up with things ranging all the way from constipation to diarrhea because your body doesn't have enough fiber. But fiber supports a lot of other processes in the body too, including shuttling out toxins. So if we're not getting enough fiber, like the cruciferous vegetables are very, like your cauliflower, your broccoli, are very well known for helping shuttle out toxins. So it's important to support our body's natural detoxification processes by getting enough of these fibers to help things stay clean and optimized.
I've always heard like the cruciferous vegetables being described as like little scrubbing sponges right inside the body. They're really great at taking things along with them out the body.
And then when you are eating packaged foods, avoid some of these ingredients.
Right, so the IMOs, the isomalto oligosaccharides, sometimes things like tapioca fiber are hiding that name. You know, it just depends on what the flavor of the week is for the FDA on what they'll allow. Tapioca starch, maltodextrin is completely off limits. Inulin and chicory root, you want to minimize that as much as you can. Now, inulin is a very good prebiotic fiber, but it's very easy to go overboard. So if you see that on a ingredient list, you know, they list ingredients by the amount, right? So if it's really high up on the list, one of the first things, you know that there's a lot in there.
And we're going to post a link to a resource that you can go to. This is on ketogenic.com's website, and it does a really great job of breaking down what fibers are okay and what fibers aren't, and dives into the scientific reasons as to why that is. And so then finally we want to mention a sugar substitute, which is maltitol. And this is hiding in a lot of processed keto foods, including your Slim Fast shakes. And this can really undermine your results. So it's important to understand the different sugar substitutes and just take some time to learn that. There's a whole section in my Keto Cupcake cookbook dedicated to sugar substitutes, what I do and don't recommend you use. And of course, I go into baking with them and how they behave in baking. But we actually just a few weeks ago, we did a whole segment and we went really deep into sugar substitutes. So we're also going to link that post here as well so that you can check out that I do recommend, you know, a few times a year, take a good deep look at sugar substitutes and what you have in your kitchen and maybe tweak and experiment with some things.
Like you do?
Yeah,
all the time?
like I do all the time.